After the car accident, my memory stopped at the age of 18. When I woke up, I accidentally caught sight of my older sister Diana clinging tightly to a man, the two of them kissing passionately. Finding it interesting, I took a photo of that moment and, without any hesitation, sent it straight to the family group chat. As soon as my sister saw it, she immediately ordered me to delete it. I laughed innocently, carefree and thoughtless, and said, "Hey, brother-in-law is so handsome. How long were you planning to keep him hidden?" At that moment, the man's face stiffened. "What did you just call me?" I tilted my head and repeated it naturally. "Brother-in-law, isn't that right?" He was speechless for a few seconds, then clenched his teeth and said, "I'm your fiancé." Half awake and half asleep, I heard the sound of intense kissing. The noise was too loud and irritating, making me open my eyes in annoyance. The first thing that came into view was my sister riding on top of a man, the two of them tangled together fiercely. The moans and heavy breathing were enough to make anyone blush, and my drowsiness instantly disappeared. My sister had always been the gentle and pure type of woman, yet now she was revealing such a wild side. Curious, I took a closer look at the man and couldn't help sighing inwardly that my sister really had good taste. I raised my phone and took several photos in a row, planning to send them to her later as a keepsake. Damn it, I forgot to turn off the flash. The blinding burst of light made the two people immersed in passion snap awake and turn toward me at the same time. My sister Diana reacted first and immediately started yelling, "Lily, are you out of your mind? What do you think you're doing?" The man, Ethan, frowned deeply, pushed my sister away, straightened his disheveled clothes, and strode toward me. "Since you're awake, come home with me," he said, reaching out as he spoke, intending to pull me away. I didn't know why, but the moment he came close, I felt a faint tightness in my chest. Almost out of instinct, I dodged his hand. I was still wondering who this man was when the bedroom door suddenly opened, and the person who walked in was none other than my mother. She sat down on the edge of the bed, crying and sobbing. "Why did you suddenly get into an accident when everything was fine? Luckily, Ethan brought you to the hospital in time. If anything had happened to you, I wouldn't want to live anymore either." At that moment, Ethan no longer looked as crazed and passionate as before. He appeared calm and polite. "Auntie, that's what I should have done." My mother nodded in satisfaction. Seeing that I remained indifferent and showed no reaction, she winked at me as a signal. I immediately understood, climbed down from the bed, bent forward at a 90-degree angle, and shouted loudly, "Thank you, brother-in-law, for saving my life. From now on, I'll definitely treat you like my own brother and repay you properly." Ethan's face darkened, and he fell silent without saying a word. A cold draft swept through, making me shiver, so I hurriedly climbed back onto the bed and pulled the blanket tightly around me, still not forgetting to add mischievously, "Brother-in-law won't get mad at a patient like me, right? I'm very weak right now and easily catch a cold." Ethan froze. "What did you call me?" Just as I opened my mouth to call him brother-in-law again, his face darkened even more. My mother panicked and quickly covered my mouth. "You little brat, what nonsense are you talking about?" My sister Diana, who had been standing there silently the whole time, also became flustered. "Lily, stop talking nonsense. Don't you remember what happened last time when he got angry?" I didn't understand. What if he got angry? Was I not allowed to make him angry? If he got angry, what would the consequences be? Everyone was acting strange. By then, Ethan's face had turned cold as well. "What kind of game are you playing now? I don't have time to joke with you." My mother hurriedly grabbed his hand and kept apologizing. "Ethan, don't hold it against her. She's probably just sulking. Say a few comforting words and she'll follow you home right away. Don't be angry with her." I heard someone coaxing me to go home, and Ethan softened his tone. "This time it's my fault. Be good and come home with me, okay?" As he spoke, he reached out, intending to brush aside my bangs. My mother smiled brightly, but behind her, Diana's gaze was like a venomous snake lying in wait. The moment my eyes met hers, I instantly snapped fully awake and instinctively leaned back. But I lost my balance. I almost fell back onto the bed by reflex and instinctively kicked out, my foot slamming hard into Ethan's chest. He was knocked backward, falling onto his back and smashing his hip against the edge of the bed, the pain so intense that he nearly couldn't get back up. Diana's eyes immediately filled with distress. Lily, are you out of your mind? My mother didn't spare Ethan a single glance and hurriedly pulled me into her arms instead. My precious girl, let Mom see if you're hurt. Diana snapped angrily. Mom, look at her. Does she look injured at all? She's obviously pretending. Ethan completely lost his patience. Lily, you really haven't learned your lesson. If I ever come back here again, I'll be a dog. From the time I was little until now, no one had ever pointed at my face and yelled at me like that. I was so angry I couldn't stand it anymore. I sprang off the hospital bed and immediately swung a straight leg strike at him. After all, a black belt in Taekwondo isn't just for show. Did I invite you here? Aren't you my sister's boyfriend? What? Are you trying to play the sisters sharing one-man game? My mother was utterly horrified and flustered as she immediately called my dad. Honey, come here quickly. Our daughter seems to have gone stupid. My father had been at the payment counter and rushed into the hospital room with the doctor. A crowd surrounded me and carried out all kinds of examinations. The final conclusion was that I had hit my head and lost my memory. After hearing this, my mother not only didn't cry, she actually burst out laughing. As usual, my father asked the doctor, Doctor, then what are the chances her memory won't recover? The doctor looked at him as if he were crazy. Most parents ask about the chances of recovery. I've never seen anyone ask it the other way around. About 20%. There's only a small blood clot in the patient's brain. Once it dissipates, her memory will return. After hearing this, my parents visibly deflated, their faces falling at once. Standing to the side, Ethan sneered when he heard it. Memory loss? You even came up with something like this. Don't think doing this will make me like you more. The image of him tangled tightly with my sister flashed through my mind again, impossible to shake. I shook myself lightly and said, Don't worry. My brother-in-law has no interest in taken men. Ethan raised his head sharply and ground his teeth. I'm your fiancé. Seeing this, my mother immediately softened her tone to coax him, as if the sky would collapse if he got angry. My father also started scolding me. What nonsense are you talking about? Your sister already has a boyfriend. All the relatives know it. Saying that damages your sister's reputation. I couldn't take it anymore and blurted out angrily. Mom and Dad, I'm telling the truth. I even took pictures just now. My parents looked at me with faces full of doubt, waiting for me to take out my phone to prove it. But at that moment, Diana rushed forward and snatched my phone away. Lily, are you not done yet with smearing others? Aren't you afraid you'll make Ethan hate you even more? I shifted slightly to the side, causing her to lunge into empty space. Unwilling to give up, she pounced again and pinned me down on the bed. While we struggled, my fingers slid wildly across the screen. Moments later, the phones of my parents, Diana, and even Ethan rang at the same time with message notifications. The brows of all four of them immediately furrowed, identical expressions. My father grabbed Diana and slapped her hard across the face. You animal, he's your younger sister's fiancé. How could you do something like this? It turned out that during the struggle over the phone earlier, I had accidentally sent the photo into the family group chat. Less than a minute later, the family group exploded like a marketplace, messages flooding in non-stop. Cousin, wow, I never thought you'd be so wild in real life. Holy crap, am I seeing things? Isn't that Lily's fiancé? Why is he glued to Diana like that? How could an older sister steal her own sister's boyfriend? It really was like raising a viper in one's sleeve. Diana's face flushed crimson like an overripe persimmon, her hands trembling as she stood there speechless. Her eyes turned helplessly toward Ethan, but he did not even bother to glance at her once. With no one left to defend her, Diana turned her anger on me. Lily, delete it now. Are you trying to ruin me? I grinned broadly and replied in an offhand tone. Heh, brother-in-law is so handsome. Why would you hide him? Look, I even took the photo nicely. The lighting is great, the angle is perfect, and the emotion is overflowing. It's practically the ideal love photo. Hurry up and save it. When you're old someday, lying around reminiscing, it'll count as a beautiful memory. Diana stomped her foot in frustration. Didn't you hear Mom and Dad? He's your fiancé. I snorted with a laugh. Are you teaming up with Mom and Dad to tease me too? If he's really my fiancé, then why were the two of you kissing like that? Could it be just like what Uncle said, that you secretly got involved with your younger sister's boyfriend? Diana didn't answer. A second later, her eyes flickered, and she suddenly dropped to her knees in front of our parents. What just happened was an emergency. Ethan had an asthma attack and didn't have his inhaler with him. I was just giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Tears welled up in her eyes, her voice choking. I know how much my sister loves him. How could I possibly compete with her? Mom, Dad, you have to believe me. Mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, yet her hands were inside someone's clothes. Good heavens. If you're going to lie, at least use some imagination. My mother turned to Ethan and asked, Ethan, is what Diana said true? He hesitated briefly, then nodded. My mother immediately let out a relieved sigh and murmured, I knew it. How could the two of them really do something so wrong? I tilted my head back and stared at the ceiling. Amazing. My mother truly was the most gullible person on earth. My father's face was dark as the bottom of a pot. He was about to say something, but my mother grabbed him and stopped him with a look. He stared at me deeply, sighed softly, and in the end said nothing. Their eyes reddened as they held my hand affectionately. Lily, it was just a misunderstanding. Don't overthink it. Mom and Dad would never hurt you. I looked at them, my emotions in turmoil, unable to understand how they could believe such a clumsy lie. Then they turned around and apologized to Ethan instead. Lily has lost her memory. We hope you can understand. Please don't blame her in the future, when she remembers everything. Good heavens, was this man someone who had once saved our entire family from a catastrophe or something? My parents forced a polite smile, made excuses about having other matters to attend to, and hurriedly left. Before going, they didn't forget to instruct Ethan, Ethan, take good care of Lily. Maybe if the two of you talk more, she'll remember something. Then they turned and pushed Diana out of the room. Go on, don't disturb them anymore. Diana's face clearly showed unwillingness, but in front of my parents, she didn't dare to make a scene. The door closed, leaving only Ethan and me in the room. He looked at me without saying a word, his gaze full of scrutiny. He stared at me until my scalp tingled. Not knowing what to say, I could only force an awkward smile. Ethan paused slightly, his tone carrying a hint of probing. Lily, do you really not remember who I am? I shook my head. He continued, Then what do you remember now? I lowered my eyes and thought for a moment. I remember scoring 700 points on my college entrance exam. After that, several prestigious schools competed to come to my house and recruit me. Just thinking about it makes me feel proud. I couldn't help laughing happily. But Ethan's eyes suddenly filled with disdain, his voice icy cold. A dog can't change its habit of eating shit. Even after losing your memory, you still can't give up lying. The smile on my lips vanished instantly, anger surging straight to my head. What gives you the right to say I'm lying? If you don't believe me, check the exam score database yourself. Ethan acted as if he couldn't be bothered and sneered. The one who scored 700 points was Diana. You really like sitting in the wrong seat. Ridiculous, Diana scoring 700 points? I'd sooner believe I'd eat shit. She was usually. If her score were only around 300, the whole family would have already thrown a celebration. I was so angry I felt like I was choking. Brother-in-law, you're not deliberately turning black into white just because you like my sister, are you? Open the score lookup system. I'll show you my real academic level. Ethan was about to refuse, but I didn't give him the chance. I dragged him straight down to sit on the bed and went directly into the academic records section. I didn't know when it happened, but a faint, mocking smile appeared at the corner of his lips. Right at the critical moment, the internet started loading endlessly and refused to cooperate. I grew impatient and slapped my thigh hard, only to hear Ethan let out a pained groan. Gritting his teeth, he said, Lily? I gave an awkward laugh, and at that exact moment, the web page finally showed the result. Look, it's out. On the screen, it clearly displayed, total score 700, name Lily. Ethan froze, immediately grabbed my phone and kept hitting refresh over and over, as if suspecting I had created a fake page to trick him. I glared at him. If you want to know whether it's real or fake, just enter your own information and you'll know. As if suddenly remembering something, Ethan typed in his information at a dizzying speed. The moment he pressed confirm, I could already sense that his demeanor had completely changed. He was clearly nervous. The result appeared, total score 692, name Ethan. I couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, so you were afraid my score was higher than yours? How pathetic. Ethan stared at the screen and murmured. So back then, you weren't lying to me. I didn't understand what he was talking about and slapped his thigh again, enunciating every word clearly. Your name is Ethan. His face twisted in pain as he shoved my hand away. If you want to talk, then talk. Don't get handsy. I hurriedly pulled my hand back and hid it in my sleeve, pouting as I muttered softly. All right, brother-in-law. I was just too excited, okay? Ethan's expression darkened. Stop calling me brother-in-law. I'm your fiancé. I immediately shoved him straight down onto the bed. Brother-in-law, you're joking again. Even if I've lost my memory, my eyesight is still fine. You're absolutely not my type, so don't even think about fooling me. This shove seemed a bit too strong. Ethan sprawled on the floor, in so much pain that he couldn't get back up. Feeling uneasy, I hesitated and said, Brother-in-law, get up already. Stop pretending. My sister isn't here now. No one's gonna feel sorry for you. But when I saw cold sweat covering his forehead, I realized something was wrong and hurriedly pressed the emergency call button for the nurse. Bookmark, go back. In the end, several nurses lifted Ethan onto a stretcher and rushed him to emergency care. I weakly called my parents. Mom, Dad, I think I might have caused some trouble. The next time I saw Ethan, he was wearing a rigid back brace. Thinking that I was the one responsible made me feel a little guilty. Sorry, brother-in-law. Ethan gritted his teeth again. Don't call me brother-in-law anymore. My mother also chimed in, patting my shoulder and handing me a wedding invitation. That's enough. The wedding is next month. Don't call him random things anymore. It's not appropriate. I took it and lowered my head to look. It was really a wedding photo of Ethan and me. I shrugged and tossed it aside. Photoshop's pretty good, huh? My mother stared at me in shock. Look carefully, it's not edited. Diana, standing beside us, cut in with a jealous tone. Did you forget? Back then, you were the one who begged Ethan to take the photos with you. And now you're putting on this act? I sprawled out on the sofa, my head buzzing and my chest feeling unbearably stifled. These people kept chattering around my ears, making me more and more irritated. So I put on my headphones. Not long after, I fell into a deep sleep. Before completely drifting off, I vaguely heard my mother say to Ethan, Don't worry, in a few days let her come into contact with familiar things. She'll remember eventually. I really didn't expect that. What my mother meant by familiar things turned out to be organizing a party and inviting over a whole bunch of trashy people. The moment I stepped into the banquet hall, a group of them looked at me in unison, their gazes filled with unmistakable malice. Their words were even less polite. Oh, isn't this the eldest young lady of the Yi family? I heard she lost her memory. For Ethan's sake, she'll make up anything, huh? What's so strange about that? Everyone in our circle knows how she clung to Ethan like a little dog. All he had to do was wave, and she'd wag her tail and run right over. Exactly. If her parents hadn't stopped it, the entire Yi family would probably belong to Ethan by now. Looking at the mocking faces in front of me, a few vague, blurry images flashed through my mind. They weren't clear, but I could faintly sense that in the past, I had endured all of this. I had once been so weak that I let them trample all over me, silently accepting their contemptuous stares and vicious words. And now, they believed I would still endure it the same way. The more they spoke, the more disgusting it became. For the first time in my life, I began to doubt myself. Before losing my memory, how exactly had I been living? Had I really loved Ethan? Carrying that doubt in my heart, I stepped closer, wanting to take a better look. They lifted their chins arrogantly, disdain written all over their faces. At that moment, I casually took a tray of wine from a server beside me and splashed a glass straight onto Lily. 1 glass for each of them. Are you crazy? I dug a finger into my ear. Dogs barking really hurts my ears. Looks like there wasn't enough wine. I waved to the server to pour more. Only after each and every one of them had been doused, their makeup smeared and clothes soaked, did I nod in satisfaction. Those people who had been sitting comfortably, enjoying their privilege, instantly turned into a miserable, pathetic bunch. The feeling was exhilarating, as if all the pent-up grievances I'd been suppressing for so long had finally found an outlet. "What do you think you're doing?" Ethan's voice rang out from behind the group. It was as if I'd seen a savior. One by one, they rushed over to him, half running, half stumbling, crowding around his side and tattling all at once. "Ethan, we don't know what's wrong with Lily today. She actually dared to splash wine on us." "That's right, Ethan, teach her a lesson. She's always been most afraid of you." At that point, my parents also heard the commotion and hurried over. The moment they saw me being surrounded, they immediately took my side. "Who are you people? We invited you here to help Lily recover her memory, not to come here and bully her." As soon as they heard that, the group burst out laughing, almost unable to stand straight. "Uncle, Auntie, we're helping, don't you see? Your daughter once threw away all her self-respect because of Ethan." My parents turned to look at me, then at Ethan, their expressions full of confusion. After hesitating several times, my mother finally spoke. "Lily, these are all your close friends. Have you forgotten? You used to invite them over to our house all the time." I frowned, unable to believe it. I was already in college? Was my judgment of people really that bad, making friends with this kind of trash? I truly couldn't empathize with my past self. I glanced at the group in front of me, disgust clear in my eyes, and waved my hand dismissively. "I don't remember. Mom, Dad, please have them all thrown out. I can't stand them." They huddled behind Ethan, not looking the least bit afraid. I decisively called security and ordered them to clear everyone out of the banquet hall. When the security guards appeared, I briefly caught a few uneasy expressions among them, but they quickly regained their confidence, convinced that Ethan would definitely stand up for them. However, he remained silent. Finally, one of them couldn't hold back anymore and spoke up. "Ethan, why aren't you saying anything? Are you really going to let Lily kick us out?" Ethan curled his lips into a cold smile. "You people are bullying my fiancée like this? Wouldn't you even give her a little right to fight back?" For some reason, hearing those words made me feel nauseous. The people opposite were terrified, frozen in place as if they'd just been slapped across the face. "Ethan, didn't you always hate her the most? Why are you?" Ethan straightened up and looked at me, his gaze heavy yet resolute. "I'm going to pursue her again, starting today." The moment my parents heard Ethan declare that he wanted to pursue me, they were instantly overjoyed and turned to look at me. "Lily, Ethan saying it means he likes you. That's wonderful. After all these years of effort, it wasn't wasted after all." I let out a cold laugh. If the two of them weren't my parents, I might have thrown a whole bowl of peanuts in their faces just to snap them back to reality. In the corner of the room, Diana had cried until her eyes were red and swollen. She stood there silently, not saying a word, and didn't even dare to scold that scumbag of a man once. Fine then, I'd help her vent her anger. "Brother-in-law, your old problem is acting up again. Your girlfriend is my sister. Don't eat from one bowl while eyeing another." The atmosphere instantly descended into chaos. Today, my parents had invited not only Ethan's parents but also quite a few business partners to the party. Seeing everyone looking doubtful and suspicious, I decisively retrieved that photo again and had the technical staff project it directly onto the large screen. I had to admit, this hotel was really well equipped. The resolution was so sharp that even individual pores were clearly visible. The entire hall erupted in an uproar at once. Mr. Thompson was so furious that he raised his hand and slapped his son across the face. Normally, when you fool around outside, I turn a blind eye, but now you're messing with your own fiancé's sister? You've completely disgraced us in front of our in-laws, you worthless thing. Diana rushed forward to block him, crying, "Please don't hit him anymore." That day, Ethan had an asthma attack. I was just giving him mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. I was too anxious and ended up sitting on him. Lily walked in at that moment and misunderstood. People exchanged glances, then their expressions all changed at once, each face a picture of disbelief. After all, this was a relatively private gathering. Most of the guests were close friends, people from the same social circle, and family members from both sides. I had investigated before. Ethan didn't have asthma at all. That rumor had been spread by him personally to whitewash his extramarital affairs. Outsiders might not know, but the Thompson family knew it perfectly well. And what kind of asthma attack involved hands slipping inside someone's clothes? At most, it was nothing but uncontrollable lust. There was no illness at all. So after that idiotic explanation, Ethan and Diana officially became the biggest joke in everyone's eyes. I didn't understand why my parents indulged Ethan to such an extent, but I knew the Yee family wasn't some insignificant nobody in this upper-class circle. Even Mr. Thompson wouldn't dare show our family any disrespect. Furious, he lifted his foot and kicked Ethan hard in the knee, forcing him to kneel down and apologize to me. My parents hurriedly stepped in to smooth things over. Enough, enough. We're all family. As long as Ethan treats Lily well from now on, we won't pursue this matter any further. I couldn't take it anymore and loudly cut them off. If his parents and my sister are already mutually willing, then just let them be together. My parents' faces showed clear hesitation, yet they still tried to persuade me gently. Lily, we're just afraid that once you recover your memory, you'll regret it. In the past, you suffered too much because of him. Now that he's finally learned to cherish you, you don't remember anything anymore. We hope you never remember, but we're also afraid that when you do remember, he won't be by your side anymore and you'll spiral. My heart felt as if it were being crushed tightly in someone's grip. I desperately wanted to recover my memory, just so I could tell them that even if I did remember everything again, I would never love a man like that, someone who stands on one mountain while eyeing another. Without giving myself time to think, I grabbed Ethan and dragged him straight outside. In the end, we stopped at the gate of my high school. Forcing down the wave of nausea that rose every time I saw his face, I said coldly, "My memory only goes up to here. Now you talk. What exactly happened between you and me? And also, haven't you always hated me?" I paused, then added, "I promise that after I recover my memory, I won't cling to you anymore." Ethan's gaze flickered slightly as he began to explain. "Lily, it's not like that. I liked you a long time ago. I disliked you before because Diana kept telling me you were a liar. But now I've reinvestigated everything. The one who went up the mountain to pray for blessings when I was critically ill was you. The one who donated blood until she fainted was also you. The one who took care of me day after day without complaint was still you. I'm sorry. Back then, I was wrong. I shouldn't have believed Diana's slander." He continued, his voice growing heavier. "Ever since you lost your memory and stopped revolving around me, I felt incredibly empty. That was when I finally realized the person I truly loved all along was you. I just didn't dare admit it before. I couldn't accept that I had fallen in love with a girl who had been labeled as lowly. But now I understand. You're kind, gentle, and strong. I'm the one who hurt you. I miss you every day." I brushed his hand away and replied coldly, "But I don't like you anymore. What I want now is to recover all my memories, to prove to my parents that I never loved you. I don't want to see my parents humbling themselves in front of you ever again." The corners of Ethan's eyes slowly reddened, as if he were about to cry, but then he seemed to think of something. "I'll take you to find your memories," he said. "I believe that once you remember everything, you'll definitely fall in love with me again." Our first destination was an old town. Ethan said this was where we first met. That day, I had been traveling with friends and accidentally lost my luggage. My phone and wallet were gone as well, so I had no choice but to ask him for help. As he recounted it, his expression was full of nostalgia, and a gentle smile appeared at the corner of his lips. "Lily, back then, you were still very inexperienced, but incredibly brave. The friend who was traveling with you cried like crazy because the luggage was lost, but you grabbed my hand and called me Uncle, chatting away without the slightest shyness. At that moment, I thought you were really interesting." I narrowed my eyes and interrupted him skeptically. "You called him Uncle? We're the same age. There's no way I was blind enough to mistake you like that." He was clearly hit right where it hurt and replied awkwardly, "Maybe I just looked a bit more mature back then." After that, he continued talking non-stop about the past, while I listened to the point of almost falling asleep. In the end, I couldn't take it anymore and impatiently raised my hand to stop him. "I'm not interested in this part. I don't remember anything special at all, which means it's not important. Change the scene, move on to the next one." After that, we went to many more places: the aquarium, the zoo, the amusement park, even a bar. But I still didn't feel anything that resembled recovering my memories. After wandering around all day, my legs were nearly giving out. I found a step and sat down to rest, thinking back on everything Ethan had told me that day. All of it had been stories that helped him polish his own image, meant to prove how deeply he had loved me. The more I thought about it, the more something felt wrong. I turned to him and demanded, "You're hiding something from me, aren't you? You make it sound so nice, but then why do your friends and my parents all say that you never liked me?" Ethan choked on his word, didn't dare meet my eyes. In the end, he answered stiffly, "I already told you, it was because your sister lied to me, precisely because of those words. That was what caused the misunderstanding between the two of us." On the surface, I pretended to be hesitant yet trusting, but in truth, I didn't believe a single word he said. From him, I was certain I wouldn't be able to pry out anything real. "Let's leave it here for today," I said lightly. "We'll talk again next time." His eyes lit up. "When is next time?" I shrugged. "I don't know yet. I'll let you know." On the way back, I received a call from Diana. "If you want to know the truth, I can tell you everything," she said. Her voice was low and gloomy, sending a chill down my spine. I thought for a moment, then decided to meet her. After all, she was one of the people directly involved and knew more than Ethan did, and my intuition told me that she was the one who would actually tell the truth. We agreed to meet at a small bar near my place. As soon as I walked in, I heard her arguing on the phone, her voice sharp and hysterical. "What right do you have to say it's over just like that? I love you so much. How ridiculous. Now you're saying you like that girl? Have you forgotten how badly you hurt her back then? Besides, she doesn't even remember who you are anymore." The line went dead. There was no need to guess who the other person was. Diana wiped her tears, looked up, and sneered when she saw me. "You must be very happy now, right? Because of you, he wants to break up with me." I shrugged. "What does that have to do with me? I didn't come here to listen to you complain. Just tell me the truth." It was as if she had been provoked. She started crying and laughing at the same time, as though her mind were slipping out of control. Suddenly, she leaned in close to my face, narrowed her eyes, and said, "Let me guess what you're thinking right now. Did Ethan tell you that the two of you were deeply in love, and that I was the one who stepped in and ruined everything?" I didn't answer. She continued, "I admit it, I wanted to steal him. I lied, saying our parents forced me to give my college entrance exam score to you. I even fabricated evidence, claiming that I was the one who took care of him when he was injured, and that you were just lying to him." At first, he didn't believe it, but for some reason, one day he turned around, hugged me, and said he felt sorry for me. She let out a hollow laugh and went on. "Then one day, he said that sleeping with me felt like lying next to a corpse. There wasn't a shred of excitement. Do you know what happened after that? He cheated. You went to confront him and caused a huge scene, then fell seriously ill. After you woke up, you became paranoid, doubting everything, constantly threatening suicide. Every time he suggested breaking up, you'd hang yourself, threaten to jump off a building, or swallow sleeping pills. Think about it. What method haven't you tried? Your parents felt sorry for you, so they pressured the Ethan family. If they dared to break up with you, they'd cut off all investment." Fragments of broken memories began to surface faintly. Even just that much made my chest ache so badly, I could barely breathe. I clutched my chest, struggling to draw in air. Seeing the pain on my face, Diana smiled even more smugly. "You can't even handle just this much? Then I wonder if you'll still dare to hear what comes next." I forced myself to steady my breathing and motioned for her to continue. "Do you know why you got into that car accident?" she said softly. "You can thank your fiancé for that." She pulled a piece of paper from her bag, a pregnancy test report. It felt as if tens of thousands of ants were gnawing at my heart. "You didn't expect it, did you? You were pregnant, but you couldn't keep it. And look, this report shows the fetus was completely healthy. So why was it lost? Because of Ethan. He secretly slipped abortion-inducing drugs into your glass of milk just to please some new little girlfriend he'd met." I froze in place. "Is that stimulating enough for you?" she continued coldly. After that, to completely get rid of you, he even hired someone to tamper with your car's brakes. That's the real reason you had the accident. Compared to him, I'm not even half as vicious. After all, the Ye family. You people were once arrogant toward my mother and me as well. From a young age, I always wanted to take everything from you, but I never once thought about taking your life. Diana was the daughter of the housekeeper in my family. Her mother fell seriously ill and passed away, entrusting her to my parents. We grew up together from childhood. I had never held anything against her, always believing that her jealousy came from a lack of security. The person I once regarded as my own sister was now sitting in front of me, telling me that someone had wanted to kill me, while she herself had merely stood by and watched. I didn't dare ask whether she had ever thought about saving me. Yet she seemed to read that thought and curled her lips into a cold smile. After I found out, I only called someone to rescue you. But I have to say, you really are lucky. Such a serious accident, and you only ended up with a severe brain injury. Instead, I felt a strange sense of relief. Finally, I asked her, "Did you really love Ethan?" She shook her head. "I don't know, maybe it was jealousy, because he once loved you so much, I wanted to steal him." I said nothing more. Quietly, I pressed stop on the recording app on my phone. From the moment I stepped into that small bar, fragments of memory, like wisps of thin smoke, had begun surfacing in my mind. It turned out that this was where I had first met Ethan, not at college, as he had always thought. He believed I was the type to fall in love at first sight with him in a lecture hall, but that wasn't true at all. Long before that, I had already seen him here, in this very bar. Back then, Ethan hadn't yet returned to the Thompson family. He was the son of Mr. Thompson's first wife. After his mother discovered her husband's affair, she took Ethan and left the house. From then on, mother and son relied on each other to survive. It wasn't until she fell gravely ill that they took the initiative to reconnect with the Thompson family. What made me notice Ethan wasn't his looks, but the fact that he had saved my cat. Her name was Dudu. When I found her, I saw him using his jacket to shield the little cat from the rain. He himself was soaked to the skin, shivering from the cold, yet he still crouched in a corner to help build her a simple shelter. That day, the rain was pouring heavily. He probably didn't see my face clearly, but I remembered every gentle movement of his, every patient look in his eyes. They were etched deep into my heart. From that moment on, I began quietly looking into him, finding every possible way to learn more about him. Piece by piece, through those small scattered details, I gradually fell in love with him without even realizing it. After his mother passed away, Ethan officially returned to the Thompson family. Mr. Thompson, feeling guilty about the past, immediately handed over the East District branch to him to manage, giving him every opportunity to prove his ability. The relationship between Ethan and me grew deeper and deeper. I once believed that as long as I loved enough and helped enough, he would never betray me. That was why I took the initiative to propose forming ties with the Thompson family, hoping to use marriage to strengthen the relationship and also help him on his career path. But I never expected the rotten seeds in his blood to sprout faster than anyone else imagined. Money was like a stimulant, bringing out a nature even more despicable than his father's. I couldn't bear watching the man I once loved sink so deeply, then turn his back on me, becoming cold, indifferent, and even cruel. I fell into bipolar depression, my mind growing more and more distorted, my words and actions increasingly extreme. I remember once clinging to him and screaming like a ghost, "In this lifetime, don't even think about escaping me. I want to drag you down to hell with me." He must have truly been terrified then. So terrified that he wanted to find someone to take my life. I told my parents the entire truth. In a very short time, they managed to track down the person who had tampered with my car's brakes. Combined with the audio recording Diana provided, it was more than enough to send Ethan to prison for the rest of his life. What I didn't expect was that he would come knocking on our door himself. "Lily, you must not believe anything Diana says. She's just lying to you." A sharp crack sounded as the stick in my father's hand came down hard on Ethan's back. It still wasn't enough to vent his anger. He swung again and again until Ethan couldn't even crawl up from the floor, nor did he dare reach out to touch me. I stood there watching him struggle on the ground, my gaze icy as I curled my lips into a sneer. Then tell me, where exactly was I being fooled? Was your cheating made up? Was you forcing me to have an abortion also a lie? Or was hiring someone to kill me just a joke too? He stubbornly refused to admit anything. We were once deeply in love. How could you believe an outsider instead of me? So it turned out he knew very well just how deeply I had loved him. And yet, the person who hurt me the most was also him. Choking up, I clenched my fists. You said it was my sister who lied to you, making you not know that the one who prayed for you, donated blood for you, and stayed up night after night taking care of you was me. But Ethan, you knew all along. From beginning to end, you knew perfectly well. In the end, I couldn't hold back anymore. Tears streamed down my face. He suddenly lifted his head and stared at me in a daze. You've remembered, haven't you? I had remembered everything. The days I did everything for him. The look of disgust in his eyes when he looked at me. The moment he coldly turned his back and walked away, leaving me to collapse in my own blood, and the death of the child in my womb, for which he felt not the slightest bit of pity. My voice trembled. I really want to know, if you wanted me dead, why do you now say you love me? Is it just because you're afraid of losing your support? Afraid my family will kick you out of high society? He shook his head frantically. No, that's not it. I truly regret it now. It was only after you lost your memory that I realized I'd been searching all along for the version of you from our college days. Lily, do you remember? Back then, I worked part-time and saved up to buy you a birthday cake. When you got lost while hiking, I searched for you in the rain all night, even slipped and rolled down the hillside. For you, I was willing to give up my life. I'm begging you, just give me one more chance. I closed my eyes and let out a long sigh, my voice filled with disappointment. But in the end, the person who wanted to take my life was you. Slowly, I pried off each of his fingers as he clung to me, my expression indifferent. Spend the rest of your life in prison, repenting. What I didn't expect was that Diana helped him escape. The police searched everywhere but couldn't find a single trace. It wasn't until half a year later that, in an underground cellar on the outskirts of town, they discovered a female body. The forensic results confirmed it was Diana. When I heard the news, my legs gave out and I collapsed to the ground. My mother couldn't take the shock and fainted on the spot. My father, the man who had always been strong, was nearly 50 by then, his hair already white as bone. His voice trembled as he said, "Such a foolish child. How could you do something so reckless? What parent truly wants to blame their own child?" Following that lead, the police quickly tracked down Ethan. He was arrested while preparing to harm a little girl, simply because she looked like me. When the police asked him why he did it, madness flashed in his eyes. Because that girl has the same face as Lily. That face is the original sin. If it weren't for Lily, I wouldn't have ended up like this. I had never imagined he could hate me to such an extent. All the memories that were once beautiful now felt like nothing more than a sad dream. Before his execution, he requested to see me one last time, but I had already turned and walked away. How could I possibly look back again? I left the courtroom that day without looking back. The sunlight outside was blinding, almost painful to the eyes, but for the first time in many years, I felt like I was truly standing in the light. After everything ended, my parents and I moved away. There were no more lavish parties, no more fake relationships within high society. Life became quiet, strangely so, but also lighter than it had ever been. My mother stopped talking about the good old days, and my father no longer lay awake in silence night after night. We learned how to live as an ordinary family, slowly mending the cracks that had existed for far too long. I returned to school and continued the path of education that had once been interrupted. Some nights, memories still came flooding back like a tide, painful enough to steal my breath. But I no longer ran from them. I learned to face the past head-on and accept that I had once loved the wrong person, been weak, and lost myself. Those things were not something to be ashamed of. They were proof that I survived. I no longer hate Ethan, not because I forgave him, but because I refused to let my life be bound to his name any longer. Hatred takes strength, and I wanted to use that strength to live. One very ordinary afternoon, I walked past a small park. A stray cat was hiding under a bench from the rain. I stopped and used my jacket to shield it. In that moment, I smiled, not because I thought of anyone, but because I realized something. My kindness had never disappeared. I had simply given it to the wrong person before. My life no longer revolves around love or marriage. I have my own dreams and a future I choose for myself. If love comes one day, I will accept it with clarity and calm. And if it doesn't, I will still live well. Because in the end, I understood this. What I lost was not a man, but the version of myself I used to be. And what I found was not memory, but freedom. Do you remember the moment you stopped asking to be chosen? Love and Lies story.